What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mr. CPA podcast. I am your host, Brian Credo, CPA, and on this podcast, we discuss self-improvement, personal finance, and all things accounting related. All right, guys, today we got an awesome podcast lined up for you guys. I'm actually going to answer a question that I received on Instagram recently. Thank you for reaching out. Like I said, I think the best place to reach me is probably DMing me on Instagram, and I try to get back to everyone, but sometimes I unfortunately cannot. But this question is really important because I feel like it speaks to kind of the times that we live in, and unfortunately, some people put themselves in bad financial situations, and kind of want to address this. I want to address this question here because hopefully it can help someone else that's kind of in the similar position. So it really just says, I am currently in debt $53,000, $6K in credit cards. I'm in debt $56,000, $6K in credit cards, and $50,000 in a car loan, and I don't know what to do. Honestly, I read this question, or I read this comment question, and I just felt so bad for the person, honestly, because it sucks that sometimes people feel the need to put themselves in debt because they feel like they're trying to fill a void. And I think I said there's kind of 5 steps that really need to happen here to fix what's going on. And I think the first thing, and maybe this is probably not mainstream advice if someone's going to tell you, oh yeah, start paying down the debt right away. Before we start doing that, I think, I've always said, I think personal finance is 90% behavioral. It's most of it's in here. It's all in your head. Yes, I understand you can make great investments and blah, 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 and that's fine. And I get it. I'm not disagreeing with that. But I think a big portion of it is behavioral. And the first thing I would recommend to this person is fix your mental health. And the way to do that, I would say for 90 days, minimum 90 days, you're going to exercise, you're going to eat good food, you're going to limit your alcohol, and stick to a damn schedule, okay? Exercise is probably, I can't even get into the amount of benefits that I have experienced in my own life from being active. I exercise now 7 days a week, and it does wonders for me. And, I feel like I look pretty good. And not only that, my mental clarity, and, I worked out this morning, and I feel absolutely a great, phenomenal. And I think it can do so much to this person. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like the person is at the best shape they can be. So I really feel like exercise, just starting a good exercise routine. I don't care if it's 30 minutes walking outside every single day, but you're going to do that every single day. Eating good food. Even in my own life, when I don't eat well and I eat food that I know isn't good for me, I don't feel good. It's funny how, on Saturday night sometimes I'll occasionally have some food that I typically don't have. And when you eat good food, and the next morning during my workout, I feel it. I feel like lethargic. I feel weird. I don't feel like I'm myself. And it's because of the food that I put in my body. And I can tell when I fast in the morning, when I drink my black coffee, when I have a good light lunch, and a nice, heavy dinner. By heavy, I mean, like a nice piece of meat, some vegetables, some good carbs. I just feel great, and I feel like my body can take anything, and I can respond to anything. And when you eat bad food, you're eating a bunch of sugary products and the bad stuff. How do you feel like your body's going to respond? It's not going to respond very well. You're not going to be you're not going to be the most optimum person you can be. So start eating good food. That's the number one thing is exercise, eating good food. Another thing is that you have to limit alcohol. I've expressed this on this podcast before, but I definitely have an addictive personality, and whatever I do like to the max. And sometimes that can be a really bad thing, and sometimes that can be a really good thing. But this is actually pre-workout, by the way. Yes, I take my pre-workout when I film. But limit alcohol. I think alcohol can be a really bad vice for people. And I'm not some crazy person. I'm not telling you not to ever drink. I occasionally have a nice, cocktail when I'm out with friends, and that's great. But, I'm the type of person, in my opinion, I don't, if you're the type of person right now that gets home and says, oh, I'm going to crack open a beer, I had a long day. Stop doing that. That is terrible. That is so bad for you. If you're going to drink alcohol, I would say limit it to social gatherings. And I don't know, me personally, I typically only have like social gatherings maybe once or twice a week, if that. So again, limit it to that, but limit alcohol. I don't even know if I should get into this, but if you're taking any other substances, drugs and stuff like that, completely, that's completely knock it off. That is terrible. Don't do any of those things because it really screws with your mental health and how you feel, and you want to be the most optimum person you can be at all times. Lastly, I guess the first thing about fixing the mental health is stick to a schedule. Stick to a schedule. And again, Jordan Peterson says this best. It doesn't have to be a bloody prison. A schedule isn't something that's supposed to be bad for you. It's supposed to feel good. And sometimes I plan my weeks every Sunday morning or Sunday night. I plan what I want to do for the whole week. And sometimes let's say I plan it out. I plan the perfect week, right? I plan everything's great, and even in the most perfect of weeks, if I'm good, if I'm freaking great, I hit like 80% of it, 75% of it. Things happen. There's things that happen during the week that you can't plan for, and you just got to roll with it. But it gives you a sense of guide and purpose. It tells you, hey, what exactly am I doing? I know literally almost at every hour, obviously not by the minute, but I'll know, I block it out between hours. I know kind of where I need to be or what I need to be doing every single day. And that provides me such a regimen and discipline, and it gets me looking forward to every single day because I have new challenges and new things that I want to accomplish each and every day. Okay, so during these 90 days that I would say that you're trying to fix your mental health, before you even start thinking about your financials yet, during these 90 days, start journaling why you're buying these unnecessary things. I know journaling can be some like taboo topic, or it's like, oh, hey, it's weird, or you don't need to look up how to journal. Literally just get a piece of paper and write down stuff. Like write down whatever's on your mind. Do a brain dump. Get whatever's on your head and on your mind. Get it out of your head and onto paper. That is the most stress relieving thing that I tend to do, whether it's my professional life or my personal life. Anything that's kind of bugging me, that's like in my head that I've been thinking about for days and weeks. Every single Sunday, I get down my journal and I write down exactly, hey, what is bugging me? What is going on? What haven't I done? Like a few weeks ago, I hadn't done my tax return, right? And I'm a freaking CPA and I haven't done my tax return. So I wrote down, got to get my tax return done, got to pay my property taxes. And all these things were kind of building up week after week. And I always said, like, I'm going to get it done. So when I go plan my week, I start journaling, hey, what do I need to do? But in your instance, I want you to really write down or journal, why are you buying these things? What was it to impress, some girl? Was it to impress your family? Was it to impress your friends that, I don't know, that at the end of the day don't really care about you? You need to understand why you're doing these things, because you may be able to fix the financial part, but if you don't really fix the internal problem that's causing you to make these sudden purchases or act on impulse, you're not going to really solve the issue long term. Again, you might be able to pay this off short term, but unless you really fix the chip inside of what's going on in your head as to why you made these purchases in the first place, it's going to continue to be an issue, and you need to understand why you're making these purchases. So start journaling during these 90 days. You don't have to do it every day. It can be maybe once a week where you sit down on a Saturday or Sunday night or whenever you have time and you say, hey, why am I doing these things? Why am I buying? Why am I acting on impulse? Why do I do what I do? And you're going to find out a lot about yourself by just sitting down with yourself and writing down on a piece of paper why it is that you're doing what you're doing. So also too, what are you doing for work right now? Is it, if there's something that you're not learning, then grow. You need to understand, okay, I'm here at my current job. What is it that I want to do? What type of work are you doing right now? I would then start thinking about, okay, well, what type of skill or what type of trade do I want to learn or be part of? Because it's so critical and so important for you to continue to grow and learn as a person. And you need to understand, hey, what type of work am I doing? And is it helping me become a better person? And I always say this, is that when you're at your job, whatever it is that you do, sometimes instead of asking yourself, what are you getting, like your salary or your job, ask yourself, what are you becoming through the process? And through that, somehow, some way, you end up, if you ask yourself, what am I becoming? And if you're becoming a better, let's say you're a plumber and you're becoming a better plumber and you're getting skills, maybe you're not getting paid as much, but you're building the skills necessary to catapult yourself into the next thing. Eventually, if you become a well-rounded individual, professional, whatever it is that you do, and you bring more value to the marketplace, that in itself is going to be enough for you to carry on and carry forward and make more money. That's the most important thing, is that your highest wealth building tool is going to be your income. And your income is only going to come if you provide value to the marketplace by getting better at whatever it is that you do. And again, most of your personal finance problems stem from a lack of meaning and purpose. I went through this myself when I was younger. It really bugged me how my first 2 years in public accounting, I spent so much money on, like a bunch of clothes and a bunch of shoes. And it's funny how when I finally moved out of my parents' house and I bought my own house, when I was moving and I was wanting to, get out and move everything over, I had like 12 pairs of dress shoes. It's like ridiculous. And even looking back now, I'm like, why did I need all that? Why was I making these purchases? Was I trying to fill a void for something that I didn't feel like I was complete yet? And looking back, I think it was. I think I was just trying to be this person and come off as like this guy, where when instead of kind of spending money on those things, I maybe shouldn't have invested money in myself and into building more skills, into maybe I could have cut down the time that it took me to get where I am now by a year or two, instead of making certain purchases or certain things or trying to come off like this persona that I kind of wasn't at the time. And that sometimes becomes a really big issue for a lot of people, is that material things will never fill a void of purpose. And again, it's tough to explain this sometimes to people, but, and again, I'm not against having nice things. I love having nice things, but having nice things for the sake of having nice things or just for vanity, it's the most soul crushing thing you can ever have. And I'm going to compare it to one thing. When I got my house here that I'm currently in, it was the only thing I wanted for 5 years. Like, this is the only thing I wanted, the only thing I kind of dreamed of each and every day. And eventually these material things, I woke up in my house one night and I looked up at my ceiling and I told myself, is this it? Like, this is all I wanted for 5 years. And now it just feels like it's just some roof over my head. And that was the most kind of enlightening thing that happened to me, because if it's just material things that you're chasing, it's never going to be enough. I don't care if you have freaking Lambo and the mansion and all these good things. Every material thing eventually, that newness that it has, that feeling that you get when you just got something, it subsides and it goes away. And it just becomes a car that you drive. It just becomes a house that you sleep in. It just becomes a girlfriend that you're with. Anything that's material to you, that if that's your only purpose of why you're doing these things, when things really get hard or when things have challenges, you're not going to be able to get through them, because vanity within itself means it's nothing, because you have to have a certain drive or purpose of why you do what you do. And lastly is that fix your mental health first, because while you're doing that, and then while you're fixing your mental health, I would say start making the payments, start making the payments that you can to pay down that debt. You can do this concurrently, but again, I recommend first you start, obviously fixing your mental health and going through that. But while you're going through that and you start getting some discipline and some skill, and you feel like you have momentum going, because momentum goes both ways. You can have bad momentum where you start screwing up, and you get really good momentum when you're working out, you're journaling, you're understanding yourself, you're doing better at your current job, at your work, you're thinking about what else that you can do now. So let's recap. You start you start eating good food, you stick to a schedule, you're sleeping well, you start doing better at your current job, and now you start thinking, hey, maybe I could build some skills at my current job to then catapult myself to make more money, to switch jobs in 6 months or a year from now. But when you're doing these things, you can currently start thinking, okay, sit down with a piece of paper and write down and say, hey, I have these debts this is what I owe on them. If I make X amount of payments, I'll pay it off within a year or two. And start thinking about now, okay, financially, where am I at? And realistically, when can I pay this off? Because the biggest thing that holds people back, I don't care if they're married, I don't care if they're single, the biggest thing that holds people back from really taking risks in life and taking that next step to do whatever it is that you want to do is debt. Debt holds you back. Debt's like a weight that you can't take off you. And I personally don't have any commercial debt, and I am extremely thankful for that because of the discipline that I had over the years not to have that. Because, as you guys know, if you guys been listening to the podcast, I switched jobs about 5 months ago, and I was able to do that because I kind of just took a bet on myself, and I risked a career that I kind of had going that was going really great, and I wanted to take a chance on myself and bet on myself because of the position that I was in. And I wouldn't be able to do that or take risks or do what it is that I want to do if I had a bunch of debt, because I would know in the back of my mind, oh shoot, I have this really great thing going, but if I switch jobs, like I have to pay this debt off, or I got to make this payment each month, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I don't have any money, and I can't tell you guys enough now that I'm a older 30-year-old guy, that I've seen so many of my friends or people that are around me that haven't took chances on themselves or taking a risks because of the certain debt that they had, because they knew that, hey, if I take a chance on myself here, I might not be able to pay this debt off, and maybe it's better if I stay safe. And they miss out on opportunities. And in life, when you get a good opportunity, those sometimes don't come very often, and you have to take it when it comes. And being debt free and fixing your mental health and being in a good spot where you're on a mission to become the best version of yourself, and you're paying off these debts. Once you pay off this debt, and it's this person, for example, it's only $56,000. With a modest income, really buckling down and being disciplined and fixing your mental health and getting on the schedule and sticking to your goals and becoming a better version of yourself by learning a skill, you can pay that off even with a modest salary of, $50,000, $40,000. You can pay that off in a year or two, no problem. But again, it's the time that's going to have to be invested in your discipline and the skills to be able to pay this off. So you can then, 2 years from now, 2 years will go like this. And no matter if you decide to do it or not, the time is going to go by regardless. So I recommend you do that, because again, anything you want to do or start, the time is going to go whether you do it or not. So I recommend you start doing it now. So that's kind of my best prescription for this, is that if you have money issues, the first thing you need to do is understand why you have these issues. What's going on? What internally is making you make these impulse decisions, these purchases? Is it you're trying to fill a void for something? Is it because are you lacking purpose in your life? Is it a relationship you're trying to front for? Is it friends? Understand why that is. And then while you're doing that, start fixing your mental health and going through the kind of steps that I told you. And then now that you're there, you can then start thinking, okay, how can I pay this off and set myself free so that 2 years from now I have a dramatically different life. All right, guys, that's going to be it for the podcast today. If you enjoyed the podcast, please make sure to hit the like button below, and also don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Spotify if you enjoyed the episode. Until next time, work hard, dress well, peace.